Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast, where we navigate controversial topics, deep dive into life-changing stories, and engage in meaningful conversation. Join us in embracing the beauty of mindful motherhood. I'm your host, Corinne Adele. Hello and welcome back to the Mindful Mama podcast. I have a guest on who has actually been an internet friend for a couple of years. She's also in the Crunchi space, which is kind of exciting. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Savannah, also known as That Caffeinated Mom. And yeah, it's actually really, I was thinking of that earlier on today. You were early pregnant. Which is like, to me, I'm like, it's been like 6 months. But in 6 months, like, insane.
I thought we would kind of just chat about a couple of different subjects. You have how many babies?
7.
7 babies.
We have 7, soon to be 8.
Soon to be 8.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to chat about that. I kind of want to ask you about your road to the Crunchi world, because that's another thing we really align on, which is fun, and births and things like that. So why don't we just start with your road to becoming like mindful about everything?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I actually saw a post from, when people ask me, how did you become scrunchy? How did you become crunchy? Yeah. I always feel awkward because I'm like, I don't know. Like well, I couldn't describe it. It was just like, I, honest to gosh, woke up one day and was like, everything needs to change. Like, I just, oh my gosh. And it was like this like out of body, like soulful experience. However, I recently saw a post from someone else that was saying my births radicalized me. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was it for me. It was birth and falling down the road of birth and discovering, okay, I actually don't align with almost anyone in my circle. Like, this is bizarre. And then slowly this shift of becoming more mindful of my body, more mindful of informed consent, more mindful of what I was doing. And then suddenly it bled, right? And for me, as far as like products-based, Crunchi-wise, it started with toys and started with, oh my gosh, my babies are putting batteries and plastic in their mouth. What is this? I don't want to do that. So it started with that road, and then kind of how corrupt the toy world was, and how it was really went against everything that was to being a child and play, and went for this really boys play with this blue plastic truck and that's it. And your girls will play with sexualized Barbies and just this very bizarre world. And that started. Then it turned into, in particular, period underwear was something I felt really passionate about, because it's PFAville. Yes. You're literally bleeding into plastics and just welcoming microplastics into our bodies. And that started an outrage. And then honestly, it was like I drank the Kool-Aid and that was it. Like, it was suddenly like, oh my gosh, it's in everything. And you know what? It's funny too, because I'm remembering now, you posted about Parasol diapers. Yeah. And I remember being like, oh my gosh. Like, I never had gone, like, in Canada, we've limited options. So I had gone deep, but not that deep. And I remember it was like this, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Right. And anyways, so that was like, truly, that was the start of just like bleeding into everything and bleeding into every avenue. Right? So totally.
Quickly. It's like, once you know something, you literally cannot stop yourself from
100%
everything else. Okay.
Well, and it is just so much. Like, it's someone like, people DM me all the time and say like, it's really overwhelming. Like, there's nothing sacred. And it's like, no, like, that's the problem. I'm like, yeah, I don't. And like, I mean, again, like, people that, like, I always say to people, like, find your passion, fall down that hole, and then jump down another next, right? Totally. Like, do your best. And there's someone else I follow on Instagram, and she says, do your best and throw out the rest, right? Like, but there's nothing sacred. It all needs work, right? So
it's
crazy.
It's rare to find things that are fully clean.
100%.
But yeah, so I'm curious about the period products that you align with. Like, what is your go-to as far as that goes?
Well, So I'm actually a really big pad girly,
Me
100%
too.
organic cotton.
Me too.
I do, so I have endometriosis and I
Okay.
have extreme, extreme heavy bleeding.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, I am pregnant almost every year or
Yeah.
breastfeeding. So I honestly have had, I think, a total of 12 periods in 13 years.
Oh
So,
my
or no,
gosh, that's
14 years. Yeah, it's
crazy.
insane, right? But
Whoa.
so, like, to be fair, I know people are like, I don't know how you handle that. And I don't do it that often, in all honesty. But I felt really, for lack of a better term, disturbed by pads we were using with fragrance and
Mhm.
PFAs and all these things. And then also, really unpopular opinion, the cup aspect of
Yeah.
we're shoving silicones in our vaginas that also the minute you've had a pregnancy you actually are high risk for prolapse with a cup. You
Yes.
shouldn't be using one. No
Yeah.
one cares.
Because of the
Everyone,
suction.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's not discussed.
Right.
And it's, oh, it's this like light, oh, it's so great. And I just can't. I so strongly believe in following your intuition on those things that I'm
Mhm.
like, that's screaming to me, you're shoving a
Yeah.
plastic cup inside of you
Yeah.
and your vagina, of all things, that is just, for one, so absorbent. Like, just like, and what you are going to birth your babies with. Like, it just, that was so much for me. And so, yeah, it really started with that. I do use tampons. I will use 100% cotton tampons when needed,
Yeah.
as someone with a really heavy flow if it's needed. But we're pad girlies, and you know what? We talk to our girls all the time about
Yeah.
how this is not, this to me isn't an optional thing. This isn't something that, oh, you use whatever. Like, this is very important that you take
Yeah.
it seriously from day one,
Extremely.
what we're going to put near our menstruating bodies, right? Like,
Right.
critical from day
Yeah.
one.
So I, a couple of years ago, started, I think honestly, it was probably after I had Sicily, because I had such a, I had a prolapsed uterus and bladder,
Yes. Okay. I remember hearing
and
about this. Yeah.
I couldn't, my vagina would not hold a tampon because of my prolapse. It would just
Yeah.
push it out. After doing pelvic floor therapy, I have been able to fix that. But I started to realize and like go down this rabbit hole of like our menstruation in itself and
Yeah.
how, and I use tampons from time to time as well, but I definitely am a pad girly now, and have been for the past couple of years. But our blood is supposed to come out of our body.
Yes.
It's not
That's
supposed
literally
to
what
stay
God intended. Like, the
right.
entire
Yeah.
point.
And
Yeah.
I actually would like learned about the stem cells that are in our
Hmm.
period blood that come out of our body and how like healing it is for our
Hmm.
tissues and
Hmm.
our vaginal canals.
Hmm.
And like there's a reason that toxic shock syndrome exists,
Yeah.
with
And
people
it's
and
normalized. Like, it's
yeah.
very bizarre. Yeah. Yeah.
So I rarely use tampons, but
Yeah.
when needed, like you said, I will as well. But no, my blood is supposed to come out of my body. You can call it gross all you want that there
Hmm.
is blood in my underwear, but I am a woman and I bleed. So
100%. Were
yeah.
you someone, did you grow up with like period knowledge? Like, did you, I did not
Um,
in the slightest.
So my mom did her due diligence to tell me not to wear tampons overnight because of toxic shock syndrome. She was
Yeah.
like terrified of that. But I literally had no idea to like put a tampon in until I was like a much older teenager. I got my period when I was 11.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, I was really young and I hid it from my mom because I was so embarrassed and
Hmm.
it was funny because I had this like little prayer bear and you like can write out a prayer and stick it in the pocket of the bear and I wrote something like God, please help my period to be a good period because I was cramping and everything at
Oh,
11 and I was so embarrassed I didn't tell my mom. I shoved it in there and my sister found it and told my
of
mom.
course she did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but my mom, she did her best to tell me every time you have your period, you need to come into my room and you need to write down that you started your period. She just
Hmm.
wanted me to write down the date that I started my cycle. So I learned how to track the date. I didn't know anything about ovulation
Yeah.
or the different phases of your cycle or anything like that. I think my mom did her best with what she knew
Yeah.
herself as well. So I did do the little period class in elementary school that my mom went and took me to, and we came home with a bunch of different pads and stuff. But not a ton of knowledge. Not what I'm going to be teaching my daughters, what
Absolutely.
I'm already
Yeah.
teaching my kids. Like
100%.
today, my son is like, Mom, do you have an egg right now? Because, I test ovulation and stuff,
Hmm.
and I always tell
Yes.
them I'm testing for an egg. And they talk about that with me. And every time I bleed, I'm like, yep, that means no baby this month. So, like,
My son, our fifth, so he's 5, and I was in the bath 2 nights ago, and he says to me, "Oh, mommy, you have milk in your boobs." And I said, "Yep, I
mm-hmm.
have milk in my breast." And then he goes, "And eggs in your vagina." Just like, just
That's
so
so
normal. And he
cute.
walks out of the room. My husband's like, "Well," like, I mean,
I
he's not.
love that.
I mean, a little
Yes.
off, but just, yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's
eggs in
so
vagina.
good to be
Like, yeah,
normalizing that with our sons and our
100%.
daughters. Like,
Hmm.
but yeah, back to what you were talking about with the cup and intuitively like being weird, like feeling weird about it. My sister for a while was using those discs and they're plastic
Yeah.
as well, and you can literally stick them up inside of you and they'll stay. And I had started my period when I was at my mom's house, and my sister lived there at the time, and all she had were these discs. I was like, whatever, I'll try one. I felt so like there was nothing wrong in my body. Like I didn't
Yeah.
feel bad in my body, but like intuitively, I was like, I do not like this. Like this is weird. I don't like that there's this weird plastic thing inside of me
Yeah.
right now. Like I couldn't. I went in there and just ripped it out because I'm like, this isn't right to
So
me.
there's this Canadian company. They're called Save Some Days, I think it is. And so the founder has endometriosis, and so she
Okay.
developed this. It's actually super clean and great. Like it's a cramp gel for external, so you're not taking
Oh,
narcotics. I can send it to you. It's wonderful. But
wow.
she posted this story on a live, and I have sent it to so many people. Very long story short, she was using a cup, a very particular cup, I will say, but
Mm-hmm.
she went to take it out and couldn't get it out. It had sucked her cervix inside the cup. She had to crawl inside a bathtub with ice and
Oh
took
my gosh.
kitchen scissors
To cut
and
it?
cut it out.
Oh my
Cut it
gosh.
out. And thank God she was able to slide into the cup and cut it and not cut her cervix.
Cervix.
Okay. Her cervix. They took her to the ER, and the ER doctor was, for one, just astounded and said, like, you could have quite literally cut your cervix off. Like, please never do that again. But she
Oh
went,
my
I didn't
God.
know what to do. She went, what am I going to do? Like, come in here with my cervix hanging in my vagina inside a cup. And so she reached out to the company, and
Mm,
they refused to respond to her. She started blowing up their comments, and other women were commenting that,
yeah.
yep, that happened to me.
Really?
Like, and yeah, to be fair, there was a very specific cup. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that this is what will happen if you use a cup, but
Yeah.
to me, as someone that already was like, this really feels wrong,
Mm-hmm.
to then hear stories like this, it was like, oh my goodness, like what is happening to women's health? Like ultimately, like it
Yeah.
was just like, this is horrifying. And so for me, it's just, and I do very strongly believe what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another, and that's
Totally.
fair. I'm not saying throw your cups out, but I do think we have been conditioned to ignore that
Yeah.
little voice inside of us as women that goes,
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't feel right. We've been conditioned to just listen to this massive, nope, that's what people are doing, and blah blah blah, and it's great and fine and dandy. And years later, it's very common that it's like, oh, actually, that thing you were doing, just kidding, you shouldn't. And
Yeah.
I think if you're having that little voice that's going, this is a bad idea, that is your intuition telling you this, our body is literally screaming no. So
Yeah.
that's like, if you're having that, that's when I say throw the cup. It's not it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just another thing specifically about discs, cups, and
Hmm.
tampons, anything that is plugging your menstruation,
Hmm.
it is literally the reason why we do this is so that we can basically be the same as men. We're just gonna plug ourselves up and we're
Yes.
gonna go to
Yes.
work.
And hide exactly that. You're
Yeah,
not menstruating. No one needs to
exactly.
know. It's a
Yep.
secret. Hmm.
And I just think it's so interesting that, like, in the Bible, it talks about the red tents that these women would go to while they were
Hmm.
bleeding. And it wasn't, oh, to stay away because whatever. It was because they were resting. They
Yes.
got to go
And
rest in these
but
rest
that
times.
that is so gone.
Yeah.
Like that's not even a thing anymore. You can't call in sick to work because I can't get out of bed. I'm menstruating. That's not a reason. There's no sick leave for that. There's no, it's, oh, take some drugs. You're fine. Find some days I'm blanking, but they have a period stimulator. And
Okay.
it contracts. They put it like a little electrodes, and they've put it on
Oh,
men, CEOs,
interesting.
and said, how long can you sit? And so
Right.
level 10 is, I think it's averaging 3 centimeters dilated in labor, and
Oh
none of
my
them
God.
can do it. And these men, they take it to the Calgary Stampede, and men in the Stampede are screaming, ripping it off them, and they're going, this, just so you know, this isn't even active labor. Like,
Yeah.
just so we're clear, like,
Yeah.
and it's astounding for some, like reasonable men are going, I had no idea. This is not,
Yeah.
I didn't know that this is what it could be like. However, also on the flip side, we also know that periods shouldn't actually be painful
Mm-hmm.
to that level. And if they are,
Mm-hmm. There's
something else is
something
going on in our
wrong.
bodies, right? But that's
Yeah.
also been conditioned to be ignored, right? It's nope, you're
Yeah.
just, oh, you're a woman, you're whining. Just put a tampon in, go to work,
Yeah.
get out of the house, right? Like
Yep.
it's,
And pretend that you are also on a 24-hour hormone
yep,
cycle, just like all men are. When we
yep,
know that is not true. Women have four
100%.
different cycles, and our hormones are different in every single cycle.
Yep.
And it's just crazy that like even in biblical times, they respected the women's different phases of their cycles. And
And other
now,
cultures do too.
yes,
Other cultures
absolutely.
still respect.
Yeah.
We just don't. Our
Yeah.
society, quite
Yeah.
literally, just like you said, though, it's a male dominant society
Mm-hmm.
that we just, oh yeah, fit in, be quiet, don't say anything
Yeah.
else because you're standing out and we don't want that. Yeah,
Crazy.
too
Okay, well,
much.
I want to move on to um just like your family size and your births. I want to know like because I'm sure you get a lot of questions and people
Yeah.
wondering like why so many kids and was this always your plan? And I just want to know about the family size thing because I just feel like I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of looked down upon to
Oh,
have
100%.
lots of
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even I only have three, and I'm constantly getting people who
Three is
are
where
like,
people go nuts. I don't
yeah,
understand. They
yeah.
can't fathom. Like it's
I'm
yeah.
like,
And especially because you have a boy and a girl. Oh, you should have been done. You had a
oh
boy and a
yeah,
girl.
oh
You
you
need
got
nothing
one of
else. Yeah.
each.
Nothing else. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's well, so my eldest is from a past relationship. I had my
Okay.
eldest when I was very young, 19, and an entirely different person than I am
Okay.
now. And I got with my husband when she was incredibly little.
Hmm.
And that it's funny because that version of me is I'm so thankful for that version of me,
Yeah.
but I also don't recognize her to a degree, like just night and day from the human that I am. And so when we got together, we had our son relatively quickly. And, oh, it was very, I would say, very traditional kind of. I was, for lack of a better term, very insecure in my motherhood at that point in time. I
Hmm.
really kind of just followed the crowd of,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I need to get a job and I need to leave the home. And oh, yeah, I should be doing that. And, in fairness to myself as well, we were a very young family and, didn't have lots of money at the time. And I didn't really know any better. And then we had our third, and our third really kind of turned our world upside down. Our third has congenital heart failure,
Okay.
and we lived in a hospital for the first year of her life, for the
Mm.
most part. And I remember my husband was very hesitant on a third at the time. Like we decided we're gonna do the third, but he was pretty that I'm done. Like I'm good. We had her, and he suddenly was like, okay, this can't be it. Like this is like this experience has not been what we
Right.
deserved. Like
Right.
this
We
doesn't
can't end on
a
that note.
100%.
Yeah.
So we very quickly and albeit accidentally had our fourth, and that was the turning point where I remember she was maybe
Really?
4 months old and we sat down and I was like, I remember I had such anxiety. My husband's just the most amazing person. And honestly, if I told him, just kidding, actually, babe, I think I want 20, he'd be like, all right, like, okay, let's do it. I remember I had a lot of anxiety and I sat down and told him for one, I never intended to return to a work outside of the home. And I remember I was shaking and I said it to him and he said, oh, babe, I thought that was a given. Like, he was like,
Oh.
to me, he's like, you're staying home and raising these babies. Like that's that.
Yeah.
And I said, and also like, I just, I don't know. I just don't feel like we're done. And he's like, oh no, me neither. And that was it. Like we
Oh, that's so
had
sweet.
a fifth relatively quickly, and then we had a miscarriage after our fifth, and I think it was our sixth. We kind of sat down and we're like, okay, like what are we doing? Like, do we
Yeah.
have, are we open womb? Like what are we
Right.
doing?
Right.
And we have a number, a rough number, but nothing like we wouldn't take permanent measures.
Right.
You know, we just, and I don't know how to describe it. Like it just, our family feels, this sounds like such a cliche, but there's just, I can't describe to you the overwhelming love in this house. Like it's
Mm.
just, I just can't describe it. Like it's like nothing else. I grew up an only child for most of my life, and
Oh,
I
really?
just, yeah, I have two stepsisters, so I grew up half
Okay.
with them, half by myself, and it just became this thing where it was just I love this so much. He loves this so much. Our children love their siblings. They look forward to more siblings. My son recently told us he's gonna live with us and his wife and 12 children. That's his
Oh,
plan. Like
that's so
they
cute.
it just works so well. And
It took me 5 years to finally find non toxic makeup that's not only nourishing to my skin, but actually performs well. As a previous makeup artist myself, I absolutely refuse to spend my money on makeup products that do not work. Crunchi is the brand that finally converted me. They have personally banished over 10,000 ingredients that do not make the cut into their products, that unfortunately is in most of the makeup we use day in and day out. I'm personally obsessed with their cream concealers and their cream blushes, and I finally started wearing lipstick again because I actually feel good about kissing my babies while wearing it. So their lip pencils are a must. Click the link in my show notes and add the code ADVOCATE10 for 10% off your first purchase with Crunchi. That's Crunchy with an I. And make sure to use my link or the code will not work.
yeah, it just has become this really beautiful thing for us, and it's not without difficulty, and
Totally.
it's not without judgment. That's
Yeah.
very much for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it just is wonderful for like I yeah.
I was just having a conversation with my friend today because she just had her baby a week ago and I was going over there. She was one of my clients. I don't like to call her a
I love
client
that.
because she's one of my best friends, but I was bringing her meals and, we were sitting there like oohing and awing over her baby boy. And she's just like, I don't know if I can be done. This is her third, but she has really rough pregnancies. And this pregnancy was very, very rough. Like horrible HG. Horrible,
Oh,
horrible
I'm so
HG.
sorry.
Yeah. And I was like, you're not done. Like, if you're saying that, I don't know if I'm done. I don't know if I can not do this again. Like, you
Yeah.
aren't done. And then we went on into the conversation of like, me and my husband are talking about when we're going to try and conceive again as well. Now that this is the longest I've ever been without being pregnant since I started
Yeah.
having kids. Because I've had 5 pregnancies and 3 live
Yeah.
babies. So I've had a really large gap, and I'm like, what the heck? This feels so weird. But I was talking to her about like, how am I gonna know? How the heck will I know that
I
I'm
know.
done? Because
Yeah.
thinking about like going into a fourth, I'm like, okay, I feel very confident in myself as a mother. I know how I want to do my pregnancy. I know how I want to birth. Like I'm more seasoned, even though my oldest is only 6, I still feel more like
A
seasoned in
hundred
all of
percent.
this. And I'm like, I just cannot imagine going into this next pregnancy saying we're done after this one.
Yeah. You
Like,
know, it's
what?
I know, but and we I think that's why we actually started having conversation, because I do think it's so hard, because I don't think I'll ever be done. And like
That's
I
what
think
I'm
I
scared
always could
of.
have another baby. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Like, and I going into our eighth, I'm sitting here so like it feels like my first. Like equally as just like
yeah,
I cannot wait
clinically.
to do this. Absolutely.
Yeah, Yeah.
But I think I could keep feeling that way forever. And like, so we did have to start having conversations of like, okay, where do we make this decision? Because
Right.
we feel like amazing parents to our kids. I never have truly wholeheartedly on our day to day do not feel like our children are not getting everything that they
Right.
need. We do one-on-one time with each and every one of our
And
children.
that's something that people bring up all the time
Oh
is
yeah.
like, well, how are you going to give the individual attention? And, the olders are going to start
Hmm.
taking care of the youngers. Well, I know that to a degree that can be harmful. I
Hmm.
also think that is such an incredible
A
skill
thousand
that
percent.
these
We say
kids
that
get
all the
to have.
time. There's there's a difference between having an older sibling and an older sibling with responsibility that's helping to
Hmm.
maintain a family
Yeah.
and a child parenting. That is not
Yes.
the same thing. And people
Totally.
just assume that there's no way you can do it. Your
Yeah.
older kids are raising your kids. And as a matter of fact, my eldest, she's like the most maternal kid. She just like
That's
can't
sweet.
wait to be a mom one day, which is beautiful. However, we very often have to kind of check her on that of like, hey,
Hmm.
kiddo, that's not your job. Like
Yeah.
that is not your job ever at any point in time to do those things. And that's something you leave to us. You can, like, it doesn't have to be that way, but people automatically assume that's what's happening. And same with
Mm.
attention. They assume that you can't do it. That's not accurate. And like, look, I'm not ignorant into saying my kids get the same one-on-one as a family with two kids. I'm
Right.
not ignorant enough to say that. However, I will say we make such adamant efforts there, and honestly in some capacity more so than some of our friends with less kids, because
Yeah.
we need to. It's a
Yeah.
like we have to make the
Yeah.
time. And sometimes it's things. My number 3 went with me yesterday and just did errands with me all day. She went to the coffee shop with me, we got a treat, we went walking in our favorite town, just grocery shopping and things, and that was a one-on-one. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be this grand thing that people think it is. And
Yeah.
that's where they make these assumptions. Like it just, yeah, it's all, I really think it's all perspective and also your personal capacity, because
Totally.
some people could, there's no way that
Yeah.
everyone couldn't do 7, 8, 5, 3 even. Some people can't do
Yeah.
2, right? Like it's
Yeah.
very personal capacity based, and
Hmm.
people love to generalize. Just there's no way because they don't feel that way for themselves. And I understand that, but that's just not reality.
Yeah, and I also think too, like big families, there's just so much fun because you have so
Hmm.
many built-in best friends.
Absolutely.
Like I'm one of four, and that's considered large
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah,
And I loved having my three siblings. Like if you're fighting with one, well, you got two other that you can go like be
absolutely.
friends with. And if you have
Yes.
even more children, how many more options do they have? And like,
Oh, and like the most beautiful relationships. Like
yeah.
every single one of my children have an individualized relationship with each and every kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it shocks me. Like some of the ones that come out and they're suddenly the closest, and it's like, oh,
Mm,
that like there's no, yeah, like it's just they have an endless supply of siblings, but in unique relationships that are very
yeah.
personalized to them. And that's something that I think people just don't see. They see this very just basic, there's just no depth to it. People don't see the
Right.
depth to large
Totally.
families, and it's just, yeah, very disheartening. And like I also recognize there's a certain privilege. It's very expensive nowadays to live and very expensive to raise babies of any, no matter how many you have, it's very
Yeah.
expensive, right? And we get that a lot of like, oh, people love to accuse us of we must live on the system. We do not. My husband works very hard, and that's maybe something that a negative that people could give us, that my husband works a
Yeah.
lot to support our family, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that doesn't work for everyone, right? So,
Totally.
yeah.
Okay, so you had mentioned about when you guys decide that you are done, that you're not
Hmm.
going to take any permanent like measures to like solidify you being done. And I would love to talk about this because
Yeah.
I have never been on birth control. I will never be on birth control. I will never get my tubes tied. And
Hmm.
Aiden is not going to get a vasectomy. And so I just want to know if you guys have thought about like, what is your plan? Obviously, like the only plan I can think of is cycle tracking
Yeah.
until I go
So
into menopause. Like,
I was on birth control for years, and
Okay.
things like the very classic, like I was 14 with hard periods and was told, oh, that's what
Oh,
you need. And like just again, like things that, and you know what, at that point in time in my life as well, like I was very indoctrinated into just, that's what you do. Plain and
yeah.
simple. Like it's just, there are no questions asked. And you know what? Bless my mom's soul. My mom didn't know any better, right? So
Yeah.
that's just what we did. I have not been on birth control since my second kid. That was when
Okay.
it was just like it started feeling different to me. It didn't feel like something I needed critically. And now I feel very differently than I did then. But so that's not something I would ever do again. Jay, if I adamantly said to Jay, I adamantly want you to have a vasectomy, I'm sure he would. But we mutually feel very similar to the cup of just, it doesn't feel great for us.
Yeah.
I'm not, and you know what? Like, I really believe there's a time and place, just not for us. I
Yeah.
don't think for us the risks ever will match what, like, we've made jokes about we would be those people when we're 40, we'll have like a whoopsie baby. And my husband's response is, okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay. Like, like I'd never say never. You never know. If we had multiple accidents with
Yeah.
with natural
Yeah.
planning or things like that, maybe we would change our minds. But at this point in time, yeah, our plan is I use natural cycles really religiously. I ovulation test
Yep.
continually. Condoms are not. I don't. People are so weird about married people using condoms, which is bizarre to me. But like I don't know. But like it's. But I
Yeah.
do think like we are people that at least right now, if we had a whoopsie, that's okay with us. Like it.
Yeah.
And if we woke up one day and so adamantly did not want another child, then I'm sure we would take condoms a lot more seriously then. Like, okay, like
Totally.
this is very adamantly, right? And again, if we have this child and that's it for us and we decide that's it, we'll kind of reassess then. But yeah, it's at this point in time, there's neither one of us have any interest in discussing a vasectomy. And yeah, I would never go on
Mm-mm.
birth control again. And I would never,
Do a
I
tubal.
actually, yeah, no, no. Like I really just, if it's not medically necessary for me, it's just not an option. That's,
Yeah, and for me it just kind of goes back to our conversation that we are having about periods. Like
mhm,
we are going in and we are forcing our bodies to not do the very thing that
mhm,
is actually the healthiest for our, like, our menstrual cycles are a pillar of health for us. So
mhm.
if we're forcing our body to we're essentially not dropping eggs anymore. Like I know that you still ovulate, but it like doesn't go through the tube. I have a friend who had that happen and it was very, she says it's so painful. Like every month she knows
Yeah,
when she ovulates and she has a lot of issues with that. But like even your body like reabsorbing the egg, I know that sounds so minute, but like what is that doing to you on a
100%.
cellular
And
level?
it's things that too, like these I recognize that there's science backing this up. Like I'm not discrediting that, but this
Yeah.
is also new, like newer, right? We
Yeah,
long-term
absolutely.
effects,
Yeah.
at least newer in reference to options, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not talking. I 1000% have met women who've had to have hysterectomies and
Yeah.
like emergency, and I'm not
Yep.
remotely discrediting
Yeah.
that. Like I'm very thankful for science being there when needed. Very thankful for that. But like one of my best friends had a tubal with her third C-section,
Yeah.
and her baby is almost 3, and she's having a forced hysterectomy in 2 months. I mean, she did it. She chose because she's bled every single day since her tubal, every single day.
Oh, and I've
And she
also,
has a period within that. So
oh
every
my
single day she
gosh.
bleeds, and then once a month she has a period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've also heard of ectopic pregnancies happening
Yep.
as well
Mhm.
with when you get a tubal. Is a tubal the same? What is the one when you get your tubes removed? Because you can get your tubes removed and then you can get them tied. I don't know what the
I
different names
don't. I
of those
think
are.
I think a tubal is the removal, and then
Okay.
like a tie is
Yeah.
when you technically can reverse a tie,
Right. Yeah.
technically speaking. But even that, like I also do know women that have attempted to have a tie released and
Hmm.
attempted fertility, and I mean, there are also success stories, but
Yeah.
like I just, and again, speaking for my own body, but for my
Yeah.
own body, it's I have no desire to mess with its natural way of functioning unless
Yeah,
needed. Like I have
totally.
no desire to
Totally.
mess with that. And I'm someone with endometriosis. I've struggled with hormonal issues a lot of my life, and birth control was not the answer for me, and like
Yeah.
was not the
It's
answer for
just a
me.
band-aid fix,
A
unfortunately. And
hundred
then when you're
percent.
an adult woman and you decide,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm gonna get off birth control, then it's like, oh crap,
Mm-hmm.
like that didn't
Hundred
fix
percent.
anything.
And look, like it's again, like it's I'm not discrediting the need for birth control in times and places, and that's to each individual. However, the conversation around it is so lacking of like we really don't, or
The
like I know
informed consent.
yes, there is no
Yeah.
informed consent. That's the
Yeah.
reality. It's nope,
Uh-huh.
this is safe, this is healthy, this is what you need to do. That's what they do for 14-year-old girls on your way. And that was quite literally the conversation. Oh, it sounds like you're I'm ready for birth control. I was not sexually active. I like it just that was just the answer. And it was okay, moving on. No conversation with me around what my body should look like during that time. No conversation with me around the risks associated. No conversation at all. Just this is what you do. Go away and don't come back. Like, yeah,
Yeah, and it's so sad that that's the care that we get. Like you were
100%.
clearly having issues,
Hmm.
and they're like, okay, take this pill. I'm assuming you were on the pill.
Yeah.
Take this pill and it's gonna fix it for you. And
Hmm.
it's like, cool.
And
Later in
also
life.
things like when I came off the pill, I remember, oh my gosh, I had insane hormonal acne. I'd never had acne in my life. And it was like, what is
Yeah.
going on? I remember that's when it was like I was bleeding out in a period,
Some
quite
girls even
literally.
get on birth control for acne.
I know, I
And
know,
it's like,
I know,
what? I swear
I
they'll
know.
just any excuse, they'll just say, oh, birth control, birth
Yes.
control,
Yep.
birth control.
Yep. Yep. It's
Holy.
because it's a quick fix, right? It's quick
Right.
and it's a very quick answer and a women's health problem. And
Mm,
women's health is so rarely the top priority in
yeah,
reality. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so kind of want to hear a little bit about your births and your journey around your births. What do you identify as any specific type of birther? Or I'm assuming you have a bunch of different types of birth stories.
Yeah. You know, so I always joke that so I was 19 when I had
Hmm.
my first, I was 18 when I got pregnant. And by the grace of God, I don't even know why. I honestly think it sounds so comical. I think I wanted to stand out and be different. I honestly think that's why I was adamant on having midwifery care
Oh,
and
really?
adamant. And
Okay.
I knew one person in my life as a child who had a home birth, one. And to me as a kid, I used to play when I was a kid, I used to play birth with my grandma.
Oh,
My
yeah. Yeah,
grandma would be the
totally.
ambulance driver and
Oh
catching my
my
baby.
gosh.
And my mom has videos and photos of me as a kid, like
Oh, that's
5,
cute.
shoving a doll under my shirt and breastfeeding my dolls in
Yeah.
public. So
Yeah.
there was always an interest. But when I got pregnant, I very adamantly wanted midwifery care. And in Canada, we are quite different than the
Yeah.
States, which in here in a really beautiful way, where you midwifery care for one is fully covered by our government. We don't pay for midwifery care at all. And our midwives actually have full rights at our hospitals.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can actually deliver in a hospital with a midwife and they have control of that room. They have control of your nurses. They have control of your meds. They have control of all of that. Now there are times where that changes. There are times where an OB may like essentially if you become
Right.
high needs or things. There are like don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but it's the base is quite nice. So, anyways, I
So,
quite
okay.
adamantly,
So you're all of the midwives. So say
yeah,
you hired a midwife to do a home birth, but
mhm,
you guys needed to transfer.
yep, that's
She
happened to
has
me.
hospital rights
Yep,
at the hospital.
yep, that's happened to me twice.
So
Yep.
every single midwife
Yeah,
can.
so it's a very different system than what you have there. So
Okay.
how it works is we have like your midwives go to essentially medical school. They go to a 4-year full program. They receive a license registered by our government. Like they have a medical license within midwifery and that scope of practice.
Hmm.
They take you from the second you're pregnant all the way through. We also do not have like I will say I'm speaking every practice is different. Like every practice has their own rules. So I'm not trying to speak for all Canadian midwives. However, we don't have the same thing. Like I've seen a lot of your followers talking about on your Ask Me Anything on Mondays. I I've gone over 42 weeks. Like that's never
Oh,
there's
nice.
no like that's your care. It's your care providers. They don't let go of you even
Yeah,
if I have a
but
twin pregnancy, gosh forbid, if I were to have a twin pregnancy, my midwives would keep care. I would have to be joint care with a
yeah,
well, recommended at that point in time.
right.
And you know what? That's okay. Like I would
Extra monitoring.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like that's
Hmm.
fine enough.
Yeah.
But so when you so for example, my first, I adamantly wanted a midwife. I actually got waitlisted and didn't get in. And, it was kind of a whatever. I remember I had my first appointment at 9 weeks in the in the maternity clinic, which is a bunch of OBs. I walked in, I left crying because
Hmm.
they were with me for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Walked in, literally said, "Are you on prenatals?" "Yep, here you go. How much do you weigh?" "Okay, thank you. Have a good day. We'll see you
Blood
in 4 weeks."
pressure. That's it.
I quite literally was a baby. I was a baby. I didn't know. I was like, oh my gosh. And I also I remember saying to them, I was drinking like a month ago. I had been drinking alcohol. Like I was like, and
Mm.
yeah, it's fine. Just yep, not no interest whatsoever. And I remember
Wow.
leaving devastated. A week after that, I got a call that the midwifery clinic had an opening and could take me. And I remember I was like
Mm.
screaming with excitement. I went, and ironically, I remember walking into my first appointment with the midwives, and I said, "I just would like to know how an epidural works because obviously I'll be having that." And I remember she was a very old school midwife. She was older. She's still like, I remember her to this day. And she was like, "I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think you may be in the wrong place." And I remember being a little bit offended and kind of
Mhm.
well, whatever. And that was pretty much the start for me of this is interesting. Okay.
Okay.
So I spent my pregnancy very aloof. It was like I was delivering in a small hospital in our town. And I was like, well, yeah, that'd be great to do a drug free, but probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, but we'll see. And I ended up having some blood pressure issues at the end of my pregnancy. So it was a little bit high stress. And they were definitely encouraging me to go into labor. I had quite a few sweeps, quite a few things
Mhm.
like that. And so I went into labor with her and had a hospital birth, unmedicated,
Wow.
very typical, classic 8 hour.
Oh my
And my
God.
midwife met me at my house. I labored at home for
What?
2 hours. She stayed with me with my home, drove in the car behind us to the hospital. I got there and I quite literally the entire time of that birth was like, I want an epidural now. Not. I know it was like midnight and I kept saying to them, I know you can't run this place without an anesthesiologist. I want one now. And praise be my wonderful midwife, who also ironically was a head nurse at the maternity ward at a different hospital. She kept saying to my mom, this girl doesn't need an epidural. I can tell you,
Oh
like,
my gosh, that's
this
so cool.
girl is scared, like,
Yeah.
very overwhelmed. And she
Yeah.
said, she kept saying, yeah, you know what? Give her an hour. Let's just give her some time.
Mhm.
I had a wonderful doula who was incredibly supportive.
Oh, cool. You had a
And
doula?
I
That's
did.
awesome.
I honestly can't even remember how that came about, but I did. I had a doula. Her
Interesting.
name is Holly. She did 5 births with us.
Oh,
And she was
that's
a
so
wonderful, oh,
cool.
I remember, like, again, I was 18, 19, like I was a baby. And this woman
Yeah.
came to my house with cards of informed consent and was
Ooh.
going, I want to know right now what your non-negotiables are. You tell me right
Okay.
now what it is that under no circumstances to happen. And
Mhm.
I didn't know.
As women, our bodies are constantly evolving, and Indigo Luna gets that. Their beautiful, sustainable clothing made from natural fibers is designed with you in mind. Embracing every curve and change, including the seasons of pregnancy and breastfeeding, rooted in slow fashion, Indigo Luna prioritizes ethical production and timeless designs. As a newly postpartum mother, they really helped me rediscover my confidence and style. Feel good in clothes that honor your body and the planet. Use my link in the show notes to save 10% off your order at indigoluna.com.
Because I was a kid and
Yeah.
she'd sit there and ask very inquisitive questions and sit there and kind of just make me think a little bit about this
Mhm.
experience. And she was incredible. She was really great for my labor. And it was overall, like I would never in my life want to do that labor again, as
Yeah.
just very different than I am now. But it was a great experience. And I remember the high of immediately when that baby was born, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is a whole new world. And then my second was my first with my husband, and we again went with we've been with the same midwifery team for all of our pregnancies.
Wow.
Two of them are one of my best friends, and
Oh,
we raise our babies together. It's very cool. So we had him as well, a planned hospital birth. And he was where things started shifting for me.
okay.
He was early, not like he was 38 and a bit. 10-1. OP, stuck AF.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I was horrified. And I remember, like, I was sitting there going, I've done this before. Something's not right. And I kept saying, something is not right. Now, if I ever had to, God forbid, do that birth again, it would be night and day from what I know now. But then no one really did anything. Like no one,
Right.
my midwife was also had someone else in labor at the hospital as well. So it was back and forth. My doula, I honestly can't remember if she suggested doing some spinning babies or not. I don't really remember, but nothing happened. He was delivered OP at 10-1,
Mm,
and it was horrific. Like, oh, so horrific. They had to hold my cervix open because I had a
oh my gosh.
moon. It was so horrifying. And I remember my doula, they ran to get an OB at one point. It was looking really
Really?
dicey. And she looked at me and said, you are going to have a C-section, and that means they're going to put an IV in your arm. And I was petrified of needles. And she was like, if you do not get this baby out, and that was
Yeah.
it. He was born like 3 minutes later. Like,
Yeah.
praise be for that woman.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the turn for me. So our third, I wanted a home birth, and my
Okay.
husband was hesitant. He was
Yeah.
much more reserved. So we had her in a hospital, and it was lovely. Her birth was very lovely, very fine. We labored a lot of it at home. It was fine. And then she had all health problems. And my fourth, my husband was like, we're never going back there. Thanks. We're good.
Yeah.
My fourth was a first home birth. She was 51 minutes start to finish. This lovely precipitous birth that
Yeah.
was crazy.
Oh
And
my
my husband
gosh.
was trying to fill the birth pool in our garage because he was doing messing with our hot water and almost missed it. My friend who was 9 months pregnant, my midwife, picked me up with this baby literally coming out and
Oh
tossed me in my pool.
my
Like,
gosh.
such
That's
a time, that
wild.
kid. But one of my favorite parts of my birth stories, my fifth, Cullen is his name. He was my pandemic baby, very
Oh
different
yeah.
times.
Mm-hmm.
He was a home birth planned. He was 10-1 and OP,
Oh
exactly
my
the same
gosh.
as my second.
Okay.
And I would do that birth any day I had to because
Really?
at home, in a pool, no pressure,
Yeah.
no one running to get an OB, no one suggesting a vacuum. I had the most insane supports of this group of women making
Mm.
such gentle suggestions. I remember at one point in time I was pushing for ages because this baby was not moving. And I was leaning over my pool, and my poor husband was this was right after a precipitous birth. So he was definitely starting to be like, all right,
Yeah.
what's going on? And he can be a little bit anxious. So he was definitely feeling anxious. And my lovely midwife, who's one of my really good friends, really gently leaned in and said, love, this isn't working. Why don't we try something else? And I said,
Mm-hmm.
no. And she said, okay, and moved back. And that was it.
Yeah.
And about 10 minutes later, I was like, okay,
Okay.
fine. You may be right. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And moved. And then he was born with triple cord wrapped
Oh
around his
my
neck,
gosh.
purse string across OP.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was coming out, he turtled quite significantly. And I remember my one midwife said, she said, I won't lie to you. I had about a second of being a little bit
Yeah.
anxious,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was fine and so wonderful. And he was born, and it was great and fine and dandy. And pretty much the same experience as my second, but a night and day. Like,
Yeah. Difference. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so different, so different. And then my sixth was debatably my hardest birth, but not,
Mm.
it was physically very simple. My mindset was really, really bad in that birth. We
Mm.
had, my birth photographer was unable to make it at the last second. She was stuck at another birth. Someone else was called in, and the energy was really not good. Really
Ooh.
not good. And my husband ended up actually removing her from the
I was
home,
gonna
but after the
ask.
birth,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did. In retrospect, my gut was screaming, this wasn't
Yeah.
working the whole time.
Yeah.
I should have said something, and I will
Yeah.
never let that happen again.
Yeah.
But
Protect
I
your
didn't,
space. Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, of all my births, I probably would never redo that one. And physically, it was a very simple birth, very simple home birth. I did have quite
Hmm.
a significant postpartum hemorrhage. And
Okay.
so that was, I think, 45 minutes after he was born. I was ambulanced in. My midwife went with me in the ambulance, took me up into that room, informed. I ended up not needing anything, but they had got me stable at home. My midwife had been able to fully
So
get me stable.
did
I
you
actually didn't
do
need anything.
Pitocin, or how did you guys manage
So
that?
So we have, okay, so there's a few things. I do active management,
Yeah.
in particular as a gram multip. So as of
Yeah,
5
totally.
births plus, I was aware I was
Mm-hmm.
higher risk. I was fine
Yep.
doing the oxy. So I did do oxy
Okay.
immediately. Obviously did not work. I had a second round of oxy when she was starting to be like, you have a stream. It's not stopping. I had a
Okay.
second. It still didn't work. At the time of past the second, she came to me and said, at this point in time, I do feel this is an emergency and
Yeah.
we need to go to a hospital. At that point, I'm half in La La Land and I'm going, okay, that's fine. We'll drive there. And she goes, I need to call an ambulance. I
Hmm.
then started losing consciousness. At
Oh,
that point in
wow.
time, she gave me an emergency clotting drug. I actually don't remember the name of it, so I'm not going to butcher it, that they keep in the fridge. So for when you have a home birth in Canada, at your 37-week appointment, you take home very base supplies. So you have
Hmm.
like they give you like some pee pads, like very basic things, and then they give you this emergency drug. It needs to stay in your fridge. She ran and got that, gave that to me, and the ambulance was called
Was it an
immediately.
injection?
Yes, it's an
Okay.
injection, and you can only give it once,
Okay.
and it is emergency clotter. It will
Okay.
stop. My poor husband was downstairs on the phone. We had our fifth, who was only a year and a half. He was asleep in our house. The rest of our kids, by chance, were at my parents'. I had a feeling I was having that baby. I had called
Yeah.
my parents to take my kids. Unfortunately, my mom had turned her phone off. We couldn't get a hold of anyone for our 1.5-year-old. And so my husband's downstairs, and suddenly the ambulance shows up. He has no idea what's going on.
Oh, shoot.
He runs upstairs, and I'm like half unconscious. It was just, the poor man has so much trauma
Okay.
around that. It was
Yeah.
awful. However, by the time the ambulance had gotten here, I was stable. Like they came up, I was stable. They still wanted to take me in.
Yeah.
My midwife went with us, and then I had an iron infusion, and they monitored for I think 14 hours, and I went home. But my midwife still was in full charge
Yeah.
of my care there, and it was wonderful. And
Wow. That's
then
really cool.
our most recent birth was a like a dream, an absolute dream home birth. She did have meconium aspiration. So we did end up in hospital with her. I think she was about 4 hours old. We did go in. Her stats were not good. She wasn't doing the best. So we did transfer in. The birth itself was incredible and perfect. But people very often say things to me like, my child would have died if I had a
Yeah.
home birth, or I
I get
couldn't
that
have.
all the
And
time. Yep.
look, I'm not discrediting anyone's experience, and nor am I. I would never speak to home birth that way and say that's guaranteed not true. But what I
Yeah.
will say is, I have had the best of care with providers in my home,
Yep.
and debatably better care than I ever did in hospital with this one-to-one care. And it's just so different. That's the reality. It's really, you can't compare a hospital experience to a home birth experience there. And people that say that, I'm not remotely discrediting that may be true for people. I'm not discrediting that. However, if you were at a home birth initially, you have no clue what the outcome would have been, and you have no clue if you would have transferred
Absolutely.
in, or if like it.
Absolutely.
I really can't stand
Yep.
that part,
Yep.
that narrative that's placed.
Yeah.
That's something that, yeah, I know you
Yep.
get that as well. I guess,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I attended a birth a couple of weeks ago. It was hemorrhage, and
Oh,
and it's managed at home, and she had previous hemorrhages. This was not her first time, so she was considered to be a high risk according to the midwife, but
mm-hmm,
it's still was managed at home, and she got
mm-hmm.
to stay at home.
Incredible.
Um, So it's, yeah, a lot of people, say things like, well, what happens if there's an
Mhm.
emergency? And it's like, well, it depends on what the emergency is, of course, but a lot of
Absolutely.
them can be handled at home. And if they can't be, then we transfer a
I
lot of
think
the
that's
different,
like the common misconception as well, is that home birthers, we hate the hospital. We hate
yeah.
hospital births. We will never do it. And that's not accurate. Like, where I choose to birth is where I choose to birth, but we still love our children. And
Yeah.
ultimately, like, if
Yes.
there is a genuine reason
Yep.
for me to go in, I'm the first one there,
Yeah.
babe. Like, don't you worry. Like, I'm
Yep.
not hesitating. However, it's still not up to the medical community or whomever to decide where I birth. That's
Hmm.
like that. And yeah, it really, that one really gets me, where it's negligence. And well, that's a very interesting take.
We
Like,
could also say that you going in for a 39-week induction as a
mhm.
first-time mom just because you are tired of being
Yep.
pregnant is negligent
Hmm.
to your
Hmm.
baby because of the
100%.
cascade of interventions and the
100%.
stress that it puts on your baby to be under those drugs.
100%.
And
And it's like,
vacuumed out of your body,
yes,
their
that
collarbone broken because they're ripped out of
this
you.
this
Like,
is the thing too. Like, we talk about this a lot. I don't like, again, I know the states in Canada are definitely different, but this is very similar, where the induction rates just
they're
astronomical, like
crazy. Yeah.
astronomical. 37 weeks, have your
Yeah.
baby already.
Yeah.
How dare you go past? When
Yeah.
I in Canada, so we, with our healthcare, when you go to 40 weeks, you're supposed to have an ultrasound and
Yeah.
an NST. I
A
always deny
BPP.
it.
Yeah.
At
Hmm.
41 weeks, you're supposed to have another. I do usually agree to that. However, I agree to that under the guise of, I'm not speaking to you, just to be
Right.
clear. You can
Right.
sit here and tell me all you want, and every single time I've been told, "Do you want me to just transfer you over to the hospital?" No, thanks, I'm good. I'm
Yep.
going home. Like,
It's just
I
information, and it's
a
good
100%.
information to
And I
have.
have no issues doing it. That's fine.
Yeah.
However, my problem with the induction rate, my problem with all the things that go on induction wise, is it's not actually the inductions that happen. And again, informed consent. If you're informed of the risk with your induction and you still choose to move forward, I support that for you. That's 100% that. My issue is the informed consent. That is not there. That's the
No,
reality.
it's
It's
not.
not. It's
It's you get
this
to pick your baby's
normalized.
birthday.
Yes.
Are you done? Are
And
you tired?
social media.
Yeah.
I swear to you, social media is half to blame,
I
because
know.
it is normalized,
Yeah.
where you go on a young first time mom and you're seeing all these influencers, everyone under the sun. Oh, I have an induction date next
Yeah.
week. Get ready for me.
Yep.
Get ready with me to meet my baby. And you're going, oh, okay, that's
Hmm.
normal. So when it's suggested, you go 1,000%. Let's just do that. Like, and again, if you're informed properly and you make that choice, I support that for you, and you deserve that. That is your right to birth the way that you choose to birth. My problem is, I want to see the receipts of your informed consent. I want to hear that conversation. I like, same with, I recently was talking about this on my Patreon, of the argument of breast is best. And I will never, ever, ever state the words fed is best. And not
Yeah.
because I don't respect formula moms, because I know very, very few and far between formula moms who were given proper breastfeeding support and
Yep.
given proper informed consent around,
Yep.
these are the options available for you. And you're having troubles, this is what we can provide you with. What would you like to do? If you still say to me, I want a formula feed, I will go to the edge of the earth to make sure you have formula. It is your right. That's your choice. Your baby, your choice how you feed that baby. But the second you're telling me you were told, oh, sorry, you don't have enough milk, you can't feed your
Yeah.
baby,
Or my
or
milk
your baby
never
doesn't
came
latch,
in.
oh my gosh, or yes, or anything. Oh my God, there's just so many. I'm told so often how you're
Yeah.
so lucky to breastfeed. You're so lucky to can't. No, I have hyperlactation. I have had mastitis 41 times.
Yeah.
Like, it was not luck. It
Yeah.
was not luck. That gets in a
Like
hundred
me,
percent.
as a breastfeeding mom, I've exclusively breastfed all three of my
Mm-hmm.
babies. I am a normal case. I am not
Yes.
lucky. I am a
Mm-hmm.
normal case
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
being able to breastfeed. And
But
I don't know.
the
I
sad thing is, Corinne, it's not normal. That's what's sad,
I
because
know.
we also have lost ancestrally, we were raised with women breastfeeding and raised with women co-sleeping with their babies and showing us how to breastfeed. And you grew up asking questions and watching it and learning. We don't have that.
I know.
We
My
have,
mom didn't breastfeed. My grandma didn't breastfeed. So I didn't have anybody to come be like, okay, let me teach you how to latch. And like, I obviously had support from lactation counselors, who are phenomenal. One of them is now one of my close friends. I love her to death.
that's amazing.
But like,
How does that work? So, okay, where you live, is that private?
so, okay.
Like, how does that?
Hospitals, if you deliver in the hospital, most of the time you can schedule an appointment to come back to the
Okay.
hospital and do a lactation. Most of the hospital lactation, they're terrible.
Yeah,
They
okay, it's very similar.
actually are, I feel like, contribute to women not breastfeeding. They
Yeah,
make you feel
very similar.
terrible. It's a very sterile room. It's not like, it's not great. So the private lactation counselors, IBCLCs, CLCs that come to your home are worth every penny, because when you're trying to figure out how to breastfeed, going to a sterile room at the hospital where you're sitting in this very uncomfortable chair, they give you a boppy that is not yours, and they're like, okay, feed your baby. It is not the same as when you are in your own bed, when you're in your own rocking chair, when you're on your own couch. Like, you need help at home, not
Yep.
in a weird chair with things that are not yours. So you do have to pay a premium, and it's usually a couple $100
Yep.
per visit. And that's what I did for both of my girls. With my son, I had lactation come in at like 24 hours postpartum. She did help me figure out a different hold, because I was trying to cradle him and get him to
Yeah.
latch. And she taught me how to hold your boob, grab the baby's head, latch them, and then switch. And then I went back at 1 week to the sterile room. And then I had like a pediatrician. The pediatricians are terrible. They also contribute to the lack of breastfeeding, because on day 3, she told me to supplement with formula with Israel.
Yeah.
And she told me, my milk, oh, your milk's not in yet. And he was small because they induced me. He weighed
Yes. Okay. I
5
remember.
pounds.
Yeah.
And so I was all freaked out. And she's like, I don't mean to say the F word. And I'm sitting here like, my brain, I'm three days postpartum. I have no idea what she means. I
So
literally thought she was
young.
going to say Fuck. I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And she's like,
Oh.
she looks at me, and I'm sitting there like, formula. And she told me to supplement with 1 ounce of formula before each feed. And I was like, I was devastated. I went home. I texted someone that I knew at church who had 4 babies, and she was like encouraging me. And I did not end up, thankfully, supplementing because she encouraged me. And I told her, I was like, well, he spit up, and it looks like he spit up a decent amount of milk. And she's like, I bet your milk is transitioning right now. Like, you don't need to supplement. So it really depends on who you get.
Yep.
But like you said, we don't have it passed down from our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties, our cousins.
Well, and it's a societal issue. That's at the end of the day, because even if like my mother breastfed me, which is so that was great. Like, it was normal to me, and my mom was very much like, I remember when I was pregnant, she bought me a breastfeeding book immediately from Lalesh League, and was like, this will help you. Like, and I have my midwife, so I'm so grateful for my personal experience, because I had the support to keep going, and because honestly I'm stubborn, so I was like, part of me, no, I want to do this. That is what I will do. However, we very similar here. Like, it's, if you have trouble with my 7th, so please keep in mind, I've exclusively breastfed 7 children, one of which on a feeding tube, dying of heart failure, and we breastfed her. My 7th lost weight, like actually lost weight at 2 weeks old, and I have hyperlactation, and I was like, oh my gosh, so freaked out, and again, I seriously praise the Lord for my midwives, because these women were just so incredible to me. But I started having issues, and thank gosh I had enough support to get into someone that was decent.
Yeah.
And, you know, she had a very severe, I shouldn't say very severe, actually, it's dramatic, but she had a fairly significant tongue tie.
Yeah.
So we went to Cairo, Osea, all
Yeah.
the things under
Yep.
the sun. We're a lot more mindful. She also, to this day, that girl eats to stay alive. Really doesn't care. She'll comfort feed, and by comfort
Yeah.
feed I mean she sits
Eats
there. She
eats
really
like a
like
bird.
yeah, she just doesn't
Yeah.
care. That's always
Yeah.
been her. So that mixed with it was definitely challenging for her. The thing that is so heartbreaking to me is I was a seventh time mom. I was
Yeah.
able to go,
Yeah.
no thanks, I'm good. I'll figure it out. Imagining a petrified first time mom
Yeah.
who wouldn't know and maybe didn't have my midwife support and
Totally.
have also the capability of paying for someone,
Right.
etc.
Or even knowing that
A
exists,
1000%.
you
Because
know?
that's the other thing too. You're getting then, just like you said, in a sterile room, you're getting an LC
Mhm.
coming in, publicly funded. You may get a winner, 100%. You
Yeah.
may get one that genuinely is amazing. Chances are probably not. But if you
Yeah.
do, let's just say you get in, you have an amazing hour with this person, it's hugely helpful, and then you run into another issue, you're back on a waiting list.
Yeah.
You're waiting potentially a week to get in. That's a long time. A long time
Mhm.
when you're struggling to breastfeed your
Yep.
baby, or you're not struggling, but you're panicked you're struggling. You're not sleeping,
Right.
thinking, or
Right.
the women that say, well, I formula fed so I knew how much my baby was getting.
Yes.
When that's put in your ear
Yes.
of, is your baby eating? Is your baby
Yeah.
peeing and pooing? Your baby's eating
Yep.
fine. But that's
Exactly.
gone, right? Like it's such a systemic issue. If
Well,
we,
it's a lot of it is control. And
yeah,
it comes
100%.
from a good place because we as mothers want to make sure that our babies are being fed.
Yep.
But the conversation of like, we see these women that are using formula, they know exactly how much their babies are getting. Like, they get to control that. Whereas breastfed mothers, we don't, especially if you're not using bottles. I didn't use bottles with Cicely or Florence. And people will ask me, well, how do you know how much your baby's getting? And I'm like, I don't. I have no
But
idea.
also, I do think too, like, and I don't like, I'm so cautious because I don't want to, I think everyone's so different and I don't want anyone to feel shamed in their journey. At the same time, I do think our society has entirely lost intuitive parenting
Yeah.
altogether. There is no aspect of trusting your gut and trusting you do know your baby. And if you really in your gut are going, this baby is not eating properly, that is different
Right.
than you are being told.
Absolutely.
Like that's two different things. But mothers are taught to not trust that intuition. They're taught to
Mhm.
not listen to, and my daughter, we say this all the time, when my daughter was sick, in the most twisted reality, I'm so grateful to a degree of learning. No. I actually know exactly what's going on with my kids. I can
Yeah.
tell you right now, I know
It takes
in my
practice
gut.
to
Yes.
tune that in
Yes, and to
and to
listen
tune
when
everyone out
outside.
too.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly that. The world is
Yeah.
so loud and telling you all the things you're doing wrong. And
Mhm.
it's easy to go,
Yeah.
and because just like you said, women, we want what's best for our
Yeah.
children. So of course we're going, oh my gosh, is that wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't do that, right? Like we've learned to tune in to everyone else and tune out
Right.
from ourselves. And
Well,
I think it's the most harmful thing that's
I think
happening.
a lot of it is like intuitive parenting cannot be charted. There
Yeah.
isn't notes. There isn't specific ounces and specific weights and amounts
Yes.
that your baby is supposed to sleep, amounts your baby's supposed to be awake, how much they're supposed to weigh, how long like that doesn't
Exactly when they
exist.
roll over, exactly when they start
Yes.
walking, exactly. It's forever.
When
It
they're
never
talking, when they're
ends.
eating solids, like
Yes,
there
yes.
is
How many words?
no book, there's no
Yep, I agree.
suggestions, like it is intuitive. So we are put up against like, okay, we have this chart, we have exactly what your baby should be doing, how much they should be weighing, how much they should be intaking, yada yada yada. And then we have, okay, the intuitive parents though over here, they're like, well, I have no idea how many ounces Florence got on her life.
But it also kind of makes me laugh because, like, even when your baby's eating solids, I don't know how much he's actually eating. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, 90% is ending up on the floor. The
Yes.
dog is eating
Yeah.
90%, right? So I'm like, I gave her a bowl and I know how much I gave her. I don't know how much she ate. Like, it's
Yeah. Are we
truly,
supposed
like,
to be
it's
tracking that? Like,
1,000%, right? And it is. It's
yeah.
just things like we've lost that for sure. We've
Yeah.
lost our entire society. And I feel like it's so bizarre because now those of us that work so hard to bring that out are the
Yeah.
ones that are weird. Like it's
Yeah.
very
And we're
bizarre.
spreading misinformation and don't
And
listen to
and
her.
so much judgment. We're judging all the time.
Yeah.
Babe, I no matter what your parenting choices are, I will fight for your rights to make them. That's the
Hmm.
reality, even if they are night and day different from mine.
Yeah.
But I also will fight for my own, which
Yeah.
means I'm going to
Yeah.
make the choices that I'm going to make. And I expect that same respect from every mother
Totally.
on the planet, right? But
Totally.
it's with everything. It's birth. It's, oh, well, I was forced to birth this way. Okay. And I was like,
Hmm.
it's all the we've lost the element of accountability, the
Absolutely.
element
And the
of
fact
informed
that
consent,
I think the
choice.
black and white thing as well, like
Yes.
what you were
Hmm.
just insinuating about, I was forced to birth that way. Well, maybe you felt that way, but nobody can actually legally
Oh my
force
gosh,
you
you
to
guys.
even have a cesarean if that means your baby's not going to survive. Like they can't. They might like try to, but like
I get this a lot that I think you and I are quite aligned. It was interesting the other day on your Monday questions when someone said, like, I think they asked you if you'd ever do a wild pregnancy, and you said you're somewhere in between of the two.
mhm.
I'm very
Yeah.
similar. So, for
Yeah.
example, I do not do the gestational diabetes test at all. I don't do fresh
Mhm.
tests, I do none of it because I have a history of disordered eating.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Totally.
immensely anxious person.
Okay.
Medical things, I'm immensely anxious.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not worth it because
Right.
either way, if I was
Our skin is our biggest organ, which means it absorbs all of the toxins we are exposing ourselves to every day. Because of this, I'm very mindful about the skincare and body care I use for myself. Osea formulates their skincare with seaweed because it's a superfood rich in vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Different species of seaweed can provide a myriad of benefits, including anti aging and moisturization. They source their seaweed from different places around the world based on its high mineral content and combines it with other naturally derived ingredients. Use my code Corinne10 for 10% off or see the link in my show notes.
if I had it, that would be so dangerous for me and
Yeah.
my mental health. And even if it came back negative, I likely would be panicked forever. So, in turn, I'm
Mhm.
very mindful of my diet. I eat almost to a gestational diabetes approved diet to ensure, in case
Right.
the off chance, I do random glucose polls. I've never been high.
Okay.
I do have all my babies are over 10 pounds. Alba was almost 11. I've tested their sugars, all been normal. Like never, I most 100%, if I've ever had it, it's always been managed. Anyways, regardless, the amount of DMs, Corinne, you would die. Are you allowed to do that?
Nobody
Pardon?
can allow
Yes.
you to do
I didn't
anything.
know. I didn't know that was allowed. Or same with I got a lot of do
Yeah.
you do the whooping cough
Yes.
vaccine? I
Yeah.
didn't know that was allowed. Like
Like what?
what? Same with how do you not
What?
have vaginal checks? I say no. That's how. I
Yeah.
no thanks. That's
I
the end.
had
How are you not
0
induced?
recurrence.
Like that. How are you not
Yeah.
induced? I
Yeah.
said see you later.
But the
Like
funny thing is, too, is like, I feel like, yes, there are those stories in the hospitals that people are bullied into these things. But I feel like most of the time it's just like, it's just being like, okay, we're going to go ahead and do your Tdap vaccine right now. And the person is just like, oh, gonna do it.
and
It's not
I
even
don't.
like, oh, I didn't know I
Yeah.
wasn't like,
No.
they
I
just do it.
I think we also have a generation of women that have been taught to be quiet
Yeah.
and like you follow, you don't make a scene,
Yep.
don't be rude,
Yep.
don't backtalk,
Mm-hmm.
and that has, excuse my language, bit us in the ass
Yeah.
because now we are
Very
not always, but
compliant.
yes, and I'm not even like I'm not sitting here and implying you should never be compliant. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
However, we have the rights of going, what is that? Can you tell me why? Like
Yeah.
why am I
Tell
having
me
that?
the
What
safety
benefits does that bring?
studies. I would
A
like to
hundred
know the
percent.
safety studies
A hundred
on
percent.
this.
And that's been lost. The concept of it's actually a conversation. It's a conversation of can you tell me about this? And whatever decision I make is my decision to make, but I deserve to know what this means. I deserve a
Right.
full picture to make that choice. And I don't want to get that from Instagram, TikTok, my friends. I want to receive that from my care provider, a real truth of this, and let me make my own decision.
I was pulling up the brain's acronym. this can be very helpful for women who are a little bit scared, maybe to like confront your doctor about a certain vaccine or membrane sweeps or
Mm-hmm.
induction
Mm-hmm.
or NSTs, BPPs, whatever it may be. And then it doesn't even have to be in the birth realm, but just in
Mm-hmm.
general.
In general.
The brain's acronym is B. What are the benefits of this procedure? What are the benefits? How might it positively impact me or my baby? What are the risks? What are the risks of this procedure? How could this negatively impact me or my baby? What are the alternatives? Are there any alternatives to this specific procedure that you're wanting me to do? Intuition, which is a big one that we've been talking about. What is my gut telling me about this? And even just taking a pause, I wish that we allowed
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to take a pause and, yeah, just practice listening to that voice. It is like we said, you have to tune into it, you have to learn. So start doing this. Start taking
Absolutely.
a pause.
And start with little things. Start with,
Yes.
yeah, like your yearly
Yeah.
checkups. Okay, start with
Mhm.
that. Well, can you tell me what that's for? 100%. And then it
Yeah.
becomes easier in your pregnancy, in your birth, and also
Yeah.
your partner. So important. My husband has many times
Mhm.
said, yeah, she's not gonna do that. Like, nah, she's not comfortable. I'm telling you right now, she's not gonna do that. Or he's come to me, hey, this and this, how do we feel? Right? Like being very in tune with your
Yeah.
partner of being, these are my expectations of you, and where I hope you would stand up. I hope you would say X, Y, and Z, right? And
Yeah.
when our
Yeah.
daughter was sick, we learned that a lot of things like,
Mhm.
this is where I'm weak. I need you to be strong and say, we're not
Right.
going to do that. Like, right? Like
Right.
there's our men can support women in such incredible ways as well, and that's one of them, as well as
Yeah.
advocating for, again, everyone's choice is different and you are entitled to that. We will, all us women will fight for you to have that choice, but the choice is yours, that you deserve to be informed on regardless
Mhm.
of what it is, and you should not have to fight for that ever.
Right.
Ever. That's the facts.
Right. And then N, the last one is stands for either need more time slash nothing. Like, do I have more time to think this through? And can this procedure be delayed? What happens if we do nothing? So it's just kind of like a fun little thing that you can use if you are, need
That's great.
the informed consent thing. And it's really helpful when you're in pregnancy and during delivery even
Hmm.
to pull that up. It's the brain's acronym if anyone wants to look it up. So,
That's so great.
yeah.
That's great to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like that was such a fun, chatty episode. We kind of went all over the place, and I bet we could like chat for several more hours in
Right?
our episode. So maybe next time I can have you on again and we can chat about like polyester because I know you are
Yes.
very big on chatting about materials that we are putting on our
Hmm.
bodies and some other subjects. But
I love that.
yeah, so I'm just so thankful that you were able to come on kind of last minute. I mean, what I asked you
I
yesterday, I
know.
think, and
That
you were
was
like,
so great. And you know what? My kids, for the most part, were
yeah.
completely quiet. So
All right. Well, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you? I know you are on Instagram, you have Patreon, and if you want to send me your Patreon link, I can link all of your stuff down below in the show notes for
sure,
anyone
that'd be
who wants
great. Yeah,
to
for sure.
check you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, it's that caffeinated mom, and I'm so grateful for you having me on here because it's been so fun. And the internet, just like you said, is such a
I
cool place
know.
like that. And we're actually very close in proximity,
I
only a few
know. You've
hours
told
and
me
like a
that
border.
before.
I know
Yeah.
before you guys leave, I got to make a trip out
Yeah.
there and come visit. But it's
Totally.
like, I'm so appreciative of, and your space has been such a wonderful place to, as someone whom, I think I messaged you this when I first kind of connected with you, as someone who I was raised completely non-religious, and
Yeah.
coming to your space and getting to learn things that I've never learned about, and always having it feel such
Hmm.
an open, welcoming place. And also like your Mondays, I love them so much because it's been so lovely to see this, such a human person. Do you know what I mean? With like,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
you're going, I have flaws, this is them,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
it's been really wonderful as someone coming into it. It's been really wonderful watching your journey as well, and watching you share it.
So I just got a text message from Savannah that her laptop died on us. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video without her. Thank you so much for joining us in this fun conversation. I just love it when I get to chat with people that I have been following and chatting with for the last couple of years. And it's just so fun that you guys get to meet somebody that I am often messaging over on Instagram. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys next week in the next one. Bye, guys. And that concludes today's episode. If you found value in this conversation or resonate with it in any way, I'd love for you to leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening in on and share about it on social media. Your support means the world. For more content like this, you can follow me at Corinne Adele on all platforms. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.